One day, Rosie was standing at the junction. She had a long goods train which she was taking to Titmouth, but she had to wait for Hank to pass with the passenger train before she could go on. Hank was late, but the sun was warm and Rosie didn't mind. At last, Hank arrived. "I'm sorry I'm late," he panted. "I had to wait ages for the connection at the other railway. Did you know," he went on, "that they have goods trains on the other railway that don't have breakvans? It doesn't seem right, does it? You still got yours. I'm glad to see. Ah, there's the signal. I must try and make up a bit more lost time. Goodbye." And he puffed importantly away. Rosie told her driver what Hank had said about breakvans. Her driver laughed. "Goods trains on the other railway have special brakes," he explained, "like passenger trains. And the flying kipper. They don't need breakvans. Your trucks just have couplings, so they need brakes at each end of the train in case a coupling snaps. You know how silly trucks are. They did it to some engines on Gordon's Hill, remember?" "Pooh!" scoffed Rosie. "I know how to keep my trucks in order. What's good enough for the other railway is good enough for me. I don't need a brake van." "Don't be so silly, Rosie," said her driver. Rosie took no notice. It would have been better if she had. A few days later, Rosie was shunting trucks at the harbour near the big station. She was just completing her train by backing down onto the brake van when the shunter's attention was distracted. The shunter thought he had coupled the brake van to the train, but he hadn't. The guard blew his whistle and Rosie set off quickly, hoping to get a run at the hill leading to the main line. But the guard and his brake van were left behind. The guard waved and shouted, but Rosie didn't hear. She was too busy climbing the hill. All might have been well if Rosie had not started so quickly. Unfortunately, the jerk had weakened one of the couplings. As Rosie snorted up the hill, the weight of the loaded trucks dragging behind the weak coupling broke it. The last trucks began to run back down the slope towards the harbour. The guard was standing on the veranda of his brake van, and he saw the trucks coming. Quickly he ran to his brake handle and checked that it was fully on. Then he jumped clear. He was just in time. The trucks hit the brake van with a resounding crash. The van shuttered and was pushed along the line, but somehow it stayed on the rails, and the trucks' mad rush was halted. Meanwhile, Rosie's firemen had noticed that they had lost the tail of their train. Rosie came slowly back down the hill to see what had happened. "Phew," remarked Rosie's driver as they helped to clear up the mess. "You see, Rosie, brake vans do have their uses after all." And Rosie had to admit that her driver was right.